Hare Krishna. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So welcome to our continuing study of Srimad Bhagavatam. We're started over again. We're on Canto 1, Chapter 1, and we have reached text 17. So that's where we're going to pick up with the fourth of the 6 questions. Prabhupada mentions that there were 6 questions, and so this is the 4th one. The first I'll do like this. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So far, the questions have been, what is the absolute and ultimate good, the Shreya, for people in general? Then the second question, what is the essence of all scriptures? Third, tell why Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appeared. And then tell of the acts. This is what we are today. The way this is listed, this is Burijan Prabhu's listing. Tell of the acts the Lord performs in relation to creating the material world. I'm a little puzzled by that because this doesn't really say that here with this question. It just says the adventures he performs in various incarnations in this text. One of those adventures is creating the world, and I suspect because of the importance of that with Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Shirodakshaya Vishnu, and so on, that's one of the pastimes. Anyway, text 17. It goes like this. Tasya karmanyudarani parigitani suribihi bruhi na shraddhadananam lilaya dadata kalaha. The running translation here, his transcendental acts are magnificent and gracious, and great learned sages like Narada sing of them. Please, therefore, speak to us who are eager to hear about the adventures he performs in his various incarnations. Bhanu Swami's translation's a little different. Remember, he always just is strictly dealing with Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's purports. Please tell us, full of faith, about the activities of the Lord who supports the forms of all avatars by his will, activities of killing the demons and bestowing the highest bliss to his devotees, which are glorified by the sages. So it says here, karmani, word for word. Prabhupada writes transcendental acts because when we think of karma, we think of fruitive activities, but these are actions that are not. But karma just means to do, and with the verbal root kri, to do. So these are his acts, but which are described here as udara, magnanimous in the word for word. Prabhupada translates it as magnificent and gracious. Gracious means here giving, bestowing grace. and they're impressive. And Parigitani Suribihi, those great souls, the Suris, the word Suri in Sanskrit by itself means a learned person, a sage, is a Suri. And so these, by the Suris, they are Parigitani, broadcast. Now, this doesn't refer to television and radio. The word broadcast shows up in the English language long before, because when you would sow seeds in the ground, when you're planting a crop, you would have a bag of seeds and you would fling it out like this. That's called broadcasting. So this agricultural metaphor was then picked up by later on to mean other things, but so they're spread far and wide. It goes with the udarini, magnanimous. And who tells them to others? The great souls. So whatever he does, everybody wants to share it and broadcast it and let everybody know about it and so on. And so Bruhi Naha, tell us about them. Who, and then we are described, who's asking this question, we are described as the Shadadananam, those who are desirous of hearing, or I think there's a desiderative in Sanskrit, who really want to hear it. And Prabhupada translates that Shraddhananam, ready to receive with respect these lila. Remember the word Prabhupada always translates as pastime. It means play, literally. Because when you play, you're just doing it for its own sake, and you're not getting any work. Is what you do it for, so you get something else. But play is just in itself. And so, and for that reason, he descended in his various expansions. Kala means expansions and expansions of expansions. So the Bhanu Swami, please tell us, full of faith, that's Shraddhananam, please tell us, full of faith, we who are full of faith, about the activities of the Lord, who supports the forms of all avatars by his will. Activities of killing the demons and bestowing the highest bliss to his devotees, which are glorified by the sages. So again, his is based on the commentary, specifically Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. His purport, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur's purport, is short, so I can read it quickly. Karmani, the activities of killing the demons in common with other avatars. Those are because the word karma just can mean doing, from kri, to do. So those are the activities of demons. And then udarani, magnanimous or generous, means fulfilling the desires of the devotees. Remember, when Krishna comes, two things. He does it to fulfill the desires of the devotees and to kill the demons. That's his two things. that's what he does. And then kala dadata, he says, means of him who supports the forms of the avatars. The constant presence of these avatars during the time when Krishna appears indicate the completeness of Krishna as an avatari, the generator of the avatars. So here's the purport that Prabhupada has given us. Put some glasses on. Prabhupada writes, the personality of Godhead is never inactive as some less intelligent persons suggest. That is the impersonalist. His works are magnificent and magnanimous. His creations, both material and spiritual, are all wonderful and contain all variegatedness. They are described nicely by such liberated souls as, here's quite a lineup, Sri Narada, Vyasa, Valmiki, Devala, Asita, Madhva, Sri Chaitanya, Ramanuja, Vishnu Swami, Nimbarka, Sridhara, Vishwanath, Baladev, Bhaktivinod, Siddhanta Saraswati, and many other learned and self-realized souls. These creations, both material and spiritual, are full of opulence, beauty, and knowledge. But the spiritual realm is more magnificent due to its being full of knowledge, bliss, and eternity. The material creations are manifested for some time as perverted shadows of the spiritual kingdom and can be likened to cinemas, meaning movie houses. They attract people of less intelligent caliber who are attracted by false things. Such foolish men have no information of the reality, and they take it for granted that the false material manifestation is the all in all. But more intelligent men, guided by sages like Vyasa and Narada, know that the eternal kingdom of God is more delightful, larger, and eternally full of bliss and knowledge. Those who are not conversant with the activities of the Lord and his transcendental realm are sometimes favored by the Lord in his adventures as incarnations, wherein he displays the eternal bliss of his association in the transcendental realm. It's going on there perpetually. When he descends, he comes not by himself. Prabhupada explains somewhere, just like when the president travels, he's not by himself. He's got a whole entourage, bodyguards, the whole thing, you know. So similarly, when the Lord descends, he doesn't come by himself. He brings his associates and so on. By such activities, he attracts the conditioned souls of the material world. Some of these conditioned souls are engaged in the false enjoyment of material senses, and others in simply negating their real life in the spiritual world. He's talking about nirvishesha sunyavada. These less intelligent persons are known as karmis or fruitive workers, and the others are known as gyanis or dry mental speculators. But above these two classes of men is the transcendentalist known as the sattvata, or the devotee, who is neither busy with rampant material activity nor with material speculation. He is engaged in the positive service of the Lord, and thereby he derives the highest spiritual benefit unknown to the karmis and gyanis. As the supreme controller of both the material and spiritual worlds, the Lord has different incarnations of unlimited categories. Incarnations like Brahma, Rudra, Manu, Prithu, Vyas, and so on are his material, qualitative incarnations. But his incarnations like Rama, Narasingha, Varaha, Vamana, and so on are his transcendental incarnations. Lord Sri Krishna is the fountainhead of all incarnations and therefore the cause of all causes. So there's a lot packed in that particular purport. He in the purport it's mentioned the transcendentalist known as the sattvata or the devotee. Is that in this one here? The word sattvata, this term sattvata, or the devotee, in the dictionary, it has the relating to the sattvatas or belonging or sacred to sattvata or Krishna. So a sattvata is a worshipper of Krishna, by the dictionary definition. Vishwanath Chakravarti simply says, Karmani refers to the activities of killing demons in common with other avatars. Udarani, generous, means fulfilling the desires of the devotees. Kala Dadatta means of him who supports the forms of the avatars. The constant presence of these avatars during the time when Krishna appears indicates the completeness of Krishna as avatari, the source of the avatars. So these are his magnanimous acts in this way. No. So he doesn't just come to kill the demons, but also to satisfy the devotees. So that's text 17, the acts that the Lord performs. 5. So the 4 wants to know why he descends in general. 4. And then the 5th question, they want to know all the activities of the incarnations of the Lord. And so this text 18, atakya hi harer diman. Yeah, atakyahi. It's ata akyahani. Atakyahani harer diman. Avatara kata shubha. Lila vidadatta swayaram. Ishvarasyatma mayaya. O wise Sutta, this is this demon, sagacious one in the word for word. O wise Sutta, please narrate to us the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Godhead's multi-incarnations. Such auspicious adventures and pastimes of the Lord, the Supreme Controller, are performed by his internal powers. Bonuswami's translation is slightly different. O intelligent sage, O intelligent sage, narrate the non-material stories of avatars of the Supreme Lord Krishna, who performs his eternal pastimes independently by his Yoga Maya potency. Atma Maya, or here he calls it Yoga Maya. Ata, therefore, Akyahi, describe remember the word avatar. We use the word incarnation, but it's some ways etymologically it's not right, because the English word, the roots of the English word incarnation means to take on flesh. And he doesn't do that. So avatar word just means one who comes down. So that's why we like to use the word avatar rather than, but the English equivalent is incarnation, but just remember Christianity, the word was made flesh, but this is denied here. That's what happens. Remember, sutta is here, demon, one who has D. D means intelligence, wise one. Oh, wise one, sagacious, it says here in the word for word. Please tell us these. And Prabhupada uses the word lila. You notice in the word for word is adventures. Pastimes, he usually said, but it means play. It's not work, it's play. He doesn't have to punch a time clock or answer to any boss. He just has a good time. So adventures, or such auspicious shubha. Yeah, shubha means auspicious, shining adventures performed. These Svaram. Now, Swara has a lot of different meanings, but here Swaram, this way is kind of an indeclinable term, according to one's own inclination or will or pleasure, of one's own accord, freely, unconstrainedly, easily, spontaneously, and so on. This is Svarupa. So that's why he used this word pastime. It's unmotivated. You just do it because you'll have a good time doing it, you know. You don't have to punch a time clock or satisfy somebody. This is your Svarupa. Manu Swami's translation, have I read that already? O intelligent sage, O wise Sutta, narrate the non-material stories of avatars of the Supreme Lord Krishna, who performs his eternal pastimes independently by his Yogamaya potency. So there's Mahamaya, and then there's what's called Yogamaya. Yogamaya means that sometimes it reveals and sometimes conceals. That's how it comes down. So we have a BBT purport here, text 18. Also a long one here, I think. No, it's a short one, excuse me. Yeah, we just had the long one. So he says here, Prabhupada says, for the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the material worlds, the Supreme Lord, Personality of Godhead himself appears in many thousands of forms of incarnations. And the specific adventures found in these transcendental forms are all auspicious. Both those who are present during such activities and those who hear the transcendental narrations of such activities are benefited, it says here. And Vishwanath Chakravarti just makes a few comments. He says the word Shubha, Avatara Kata, Shubha. Shubha means non-material. And he goes on, the Lord performs pastimes in the present which are actually eternal in nature by his Yogamaya potency, also called, parentheses, Atma Maya, by his Atma Maya. This Atma Maya, the same, synonymous here with Yoga Maya. Maya just means energy or potency here. And so this is his Yoga Maya potency. So text 19, we have time for that? Okay. So text 19. Let me do it from here. So we don't run into another question yet. Now this is a little elaboration of the kind of a, not just answering questions. Question doesn't show up until the sixth question is not until the last verse. So this is a kind of a little break of just questions, but they want to make some remarks. So text 19. Vayam tu na vitripyama uttama shloka vikrame yachrinvatam rasagyana yachrinvatam rasagyanam swadu swadu pade pade. That's cute, huh? Swadu swadu pade pade. We never tire of hearing the transcendental pastimes of the Personality of Godhead, who is glorified by hymns and prayers. Those who have developed a taste for transcendental relationships with him relish hearing of his pastimes at every moment. Manuswami's translation a little differently. We are not fully satisfied with the exploits of the Lord, whose fame is the highest, because at every moment those exploits become more relishable for the hearers who have knowledge of rasa. Little different angle on that one, huh? He said this word is vayam, which means we, not vitriptyama. We shall not be at rest in the word for word, or we shall not be fully satisfied, or we never tire of hearing. The word just this trip, where the R is the vowel with the dot under it. Trip is to satisfy oneself, become satisfied, and then the V on the front is a kind of, in Sanskrit, is usually an all-purpose intensifier, to be satiated. I mean, really fulfilled, really satisfied. It just intensifies everything. You know, there's jnana and then there's vijnana. Jnana is just knowledge. It can be from a book. Vijnana, you know it directly, direct perception, vijnana. But generally, it's this sort of all-purpose intensifier. So, so there we shall, we'll never be at rest, and we just always want more. No matter how much you give us, well, it just increases our eagerness to do it again. Asakti actually means addiction. We are not fully satisfied with the exploits of the world. So the exploits of the Lord, Uttama Shloka. This Uttama Shloka, literally transcendental verses or highest verses. But in Sanskrit, there's a kind of compound whose name of the compound is an instance of it, Bahuvrihi. Bahuvrihi means much rice. But used as a compound, it can mean he who has much rice. So Uttama Shloka, not who is transcendental prayers or highest prayers, but who is glorified or described or known through Uttama Shloka, the highest verses. So this is this kind of Bahuvrihi compound, much rice compound. And Vikrama is adventures that he has. And then those who conversant with them, they develop this taste, this rasa. Prabhupada uses the word humor, but that's a really old-fashioned English word. Right now it just means ha ha ha. But there were humors. There people were melancholy by nature. That was their humor, was a melancholy humor. Jovial by nature, happy, and so they're angry. You know, these dispositions were called humors, and caused by various humors in the body. They thought they were kind of liquids in the body. So this is when this rasa, using this word humor, and they were thought of as kind of subtle liquids. So, and then swadu, pade, pade. And actually, this swadu, the dictionary actually has, swadu by itself means sweet, savory, palatable, good tasting, and so on. But actually, swadu has a dictionary entry because swadu means exceedingly sweet or savory, really tasty. Swadu. That's what, that's what it says. So the purport here, or text 19, he says, there's a great difference between mundane stories, fictions, or history, and the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. The histories of the whole universe contain references to pastimes of the incarnations of the Lord. Because itihasa, the Sanskrit meaning itihasa, thus it happened. That's the Ramayana, is classified as this Ramayana. Why tell the history? Well, because Lord Ramchandra appeared. The Mahabharata, yeah, why tell that story? Well, because, the story of Krishna and other things. And the Puranas. So the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, and the Puranas are histories of bygone ages recorded in connection with the pastimes of the incarnations of the Lord, and therefore remain fresh, even after repeated readings. Now, a book is like a mirror. This is a famous German saying, a book is like a mirror. If Aus looks in, no angel will look out. So this is you have to see them, but remain fresh even after repeating readings. But Prabhupada had to create the audience that could actually appreciate this. For example, anyone may read Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam repeatedly throughout his whole life, yet find in them new light of information. And it's true, if you actually follow the process correctly, you will always find new stuff. It will always be fresh, because it's also an avatar of the Lord. Mundane news is static, whereas transcendental news is dynamic, inasmuch as spirit is dynamic and matter is static. Those who have developed a taste for understanding the transcendental subject matter, so notice he says you have to develop the taste. As they say sometimes, it's an acquired taste. And we say in English, those who have developed a taste for understanding the transcendental subject matter are never tired of hearing such narrations. That's why when the books came, Prabhupada also had to create the audience for the books, the qualified audience. He goes on, one is quickly satiated by mundane activities, but no one is satiated by transcendental or devotional activities. How many times can you watch the same movie over and over and over and over and over again? After a while, you get sick of it. And that's why they had to keep coming out with more and more. But, this book has been around for a very long time. Uttama Shloka. That's in this verse, you notice, Uttama Shloka. It's actually a name of God, one who is praised by transcendental, higher, topmost verses. It's called a Bahuvrihi compound. Bahuvrihi is an example of the Bahuvrihi means much rice.
Did you talk about that?
Huh?
You were talking about that earlier.
I did today already, okay. So the same thing, this another compound here. Uttama Shloka indicates that literature which is not meant for nescience. Mundane literature is in the mode of darkness or ignorance, whereas transcendental literature is quite different. Transcendental literature, the word transcend means to go beyond. Right? Transcendental literature is above the mode of darkness, and its light becomes more luminous with progressive reading and realization of the transcendental subject matter. The so-called liberated persons are never satisfied by the repetition of the words Aham Brahmasmi. This is the Mahavakya of the Mayavadis, the great say, I am Brahman. And so sometimes they sit there, Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi, or I am God, I am God, I am God. I am Brahman. It's true that you are Brahman, but just by saying it over and over again, you'll not bring that realization there. Such artificial realization of Brahman. Notice he doesn't say there isn't such a thing, but this is artificial. The artificial realization of Brahman becomes hackneyed. And that means it gets stale after a while. And so to relish real pleasure, they turn to the narrations of Srimad Bhagavatam. So you'll go on. You can go on from the Aham Brahmasmi to the real pleasure. Those who are not so fortunate turn to altruism and worldly philanthropy. This is a reference to the Ramakrishna mission, which starts out as a Mayavadi Aham Brahmasmi, but ends up running orphanages and homes for retired soldiers and things like that, mundane welfare work, because they have nothing to do. So they start doing these kinds of mundane charity because this is worldly philanthropy. Not that those aren't worthy causes, but it's different from God realization. It's basically good deeds. Those who are not so fortunate turn to altruism and worldly philanthropy. This means the Mayavada philosophy is mundane, whereas the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam is transcendental. That's the Prabhupada's purport for that. Uh, 19, I'm going to read Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. Uttama Shloka means he whose fame or good qualities are the best. Or it can mean he who is praised by the best persons. We are not completely satisfied in hearing about the exploits of Uttama Shloka. We do not consider that it is sufficient. In other words, we are completely satisfied by whatever we have done in performing sacrifice and yoga. Let us continue to hear about the activities of the Lord. In other words, you're fulfilled by that, you're done. But now let us continue. Or the sentence can mean, let others be satisfied, but we are not. That is indicated by the word to. The meaning is this. In 3 ways one knows that one has had enough of something and is satisfied: by sufficiency of quantity, as with food in the belly; by lack of awareness of the taste; and by lack of relishing the object. In this verse there is insufficiency for the hearers, Srinvatam, because the exploits are not directly present, being present only as sound in the ether contacting the ear. Satisfaction is negated for a person who is not capable of appreciating the taste or rasa, for a person who is just like an animal. However, the sages have appreciation of rasa, rasagyana. You notice that's in the verse? I have a god sister named Rasagyana. Prabhupada gave her that name. In fact, there's 2 names of disciples. Uttama Shloka is another one. Rasagyana, yeah. Rasagyana. We never said it right. Rasagyana. However, the sages have appreciation for rasa, rasagyana. But still they are not satisfied, meaning they want more. Unlike chewed sugar cane, which loses its taste and becomes detestable, the topics of the Lord are most excellent because of the increase in taste at every moment. Pade, pade, swadu, swadu, pade, pade, after tasting. The sages have not lost taste, but are still dissatisfied. In other words, they want more. The locative termination on pada, pada, pade, pade, indicates at every moment, at every step by step. So that's the commentary there. So we've gone. So we'll pick up again with the text 20. And now we'll see if there's any comments, questions, or discussion.
For anyone on the phone, you can press *6 and that will unmute yourself. Those of you watching on Facebook, you can type in your question into the comment section, or you can use the chat box on Ravindra Prabhu's website. That's RSDasa.com. Vijay Krishna Prabhu asks, he says, related to 1:117, where I find 2 synonyms, Gitani, sorry, I don't have the diacritics here, broadcast and Suribihi by the great souls. My question is, why is it that great sages like Narada sing of the acts of the Lord? Is it that they can't contain themselves because of the abundance of transcendental happiness found in their hearts? Is that the reason why the Hare Krishnas chant and dance so effusively?
Yes. The simple answer is yes. The root of the word bhakti means to share. So you share it with others, you give it to others, and when you give it to others, it gets better for you too. Everybody's happiness increases. So, and bhakti is actually social. You're not alone, you're with others.
Vijay Krishna Prabhu also asks, he says, also related to 1:117, where I find the synonym Shraddhananam, ready to receive with respect. In the material world, respect may be offered out of fear. My question is, when an intimate relationship exists with Krishna, in the spiritual world, is it that the offering of respect is included? What is the difference between intimacy and respect?
I think by respect, Prabhupada, just means you really, really appreciate it. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily, I don't know, somehow alienated or at a distance, because what it says is eager to hear in the translation, and with respect means that you value what you're hearing very much, and so you don't think it is just some kind of fictional thing, or you appreciate it. That's what he means by that here in the word for word.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore you're eager to hear it.
Vijay Krishna Prabhu also asks, in regards to the translation saying, who are eager to hear, in the material world, when people speak, it may happen that they are inviting death, like the frog attracting the snake. My question is, when a person is eager to hear about transcendence, what does this eagerness reveal about his character? Developed intelligence?
Yeah. It does.
Okay. I'm not seeing anything.
No one else?
It's pretty quiet. Oh, wait. Let's see. Just a few comments here. Let's see, some comments here. Bhakti Elijah says Hare Krishna. Gaura Shakti Prabhu says this verse 19 is so sweet.
Yes, it really is. Mm-hmm.
And Devadarna says, thank you, Ravindra Prabhu. A wonderful reading as ever. May Krishna bless you with continuing this great service.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, and please be safe. We have a number of people joining us today, by the way. Darpaha Krishna from Mayapur is online.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty great.
Hare Krishna.
Haryasha made it online.
Yes, Haryasha made it. Good for you.
I'm not sure if he's still online, but he was. And a bunch of other really great people. All right, if there's nothing else.
All right, so next we'll continue with text 20, Kritavan Kita Karmani. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.